Welcome back to the Boys and Ball podcast. If you like the pod, hit the like button, subscribe. Let's go. Boys, we got a new number one in the top 25.
Yeah, we do.
Purdue. They're back. They've been number one before this season. They're back to number one. They only have one loss on the year to Rutgers. Now, Rutgers is second in the Big Ten at 14-6, so that's not a bad loss. The Big Ten's pretty good at basketball. How do y'all boys feel about Purdue?
Well, I think Purdue's got the best player in the country right now, Zach Edey, big man down low. Hey, he's just a lot to handle. I don't really know what you really have to do. You kind of just have to let him play his game and try to stop everybody else around him. So,
Yeah, I mean, 22 points, 13 rebounds. That's tough.
yeah.
That was a crazy stat line.
Yeah, he's a big boy down low, almost 300 pounds. Like, that's rough.
But the former number one last week, Houston, they dropped down to number 3. They take another loss. Is this a typical Houston team in the year 28-3?
I don't think so. I think they'll. I don't know. I mean, just kind of go through lumps mid-season, but I think Houston will end up going to the tournament and probably making a run this year. I like that. I like Marcus Sasser.
Do you still think they'll be seated high in the tournament?
I don't know if they'll be like a 1 or a 2 seed, but I definitely think that they'll be a top 4 seed.
Yeah, I mean, I can see that. I think they'll probably end the year a 2 or 3 seed. If they're going to be a 3 seed, I think they'll probably be a higher 3 seed unless they really struggle in this middle portion of the season here. But I mean, it's Houston. They win a lot of games. It's just what they do. Now, another team, an SEC team, not the normal SEC team you talk about being ranked high. Alabama has moved up to number 2. They've been ranked high for most of the year, 17-2. Tootie, what's different with this Alabama team this year?
Well, Nate Oates has just been recruiting the heck out of the whole country. He's been bringing in a lot of good athletes, a lot of long, tall guys. They almost remind me of even, not just because of the colors, but they remind me of Arkansas. That just because they have so many good athletes. But with Alabama, that stands out is Brandon Miller. I mean, he's the freshman he's also probably going to be. He'll probably be in the green room for the draft. I mean, they call him like Kevin Durant 2.0. Has a really good offensive bag. He shoots the ball inside out. He pretty much is a 3-level scorer. So he's that type of guy that could probably drop 30 points in a championship game if he needed to. So I think that's the difference with Alabama.
All right. And then, the final team talking about this top 25, Kansas. Dropped 3 in a row. Is this a Kansas team that's going to get back on track, next game against Kentucky? Or do they go on a little 5-game skid? They drop to Kentucky and into Kansas State, which is their following game.
I think Kentucky's going to give them a really good battle. Bill Self, it's hard to beat Bill Self 2 times. So I think that Kansas will probably plan for Kansas State, a lot better than they did, I guess, originally, and they'll make the right adjustments. But I think Kansas is, they're just a dominant team, man. They have the best recruiting classes usually year in and year out. They bring in all the right transfers that have the experience. I mean, even if they lose another 3 or 4 games, if they lose like 2 to 3 games, they'll be fine. They'll be fine.
Okay. So
I can see them losing to Kentucky, but I think, I agree with them. I think they'll probably come back and have a better game plan against K-State this coming round.
Yeah, I mean, I do think they bounce back against Kentucky. This is not your typical Kentucky team. There's the talk around Lexington. Is Calipari going to be there next year? This is a team that's struggling right now. They're not really playing well against some of those better opponents, and I don't know. I think the years of Kentucky ripping off the number 1 recruiting class every year and having 3 guys go one and done is over, and Calipari definitely has to adjust to that and honestly start winning more games in the tournament.
Mhm. I agree.
Where it starts.
But to the favorite section, Tootie, the mid-major demon. We got a bunch in the top 25 right now. Mid-major number one. Who's the number one to watch for these next couple upcoming games?
Well, number one mid-major I have is Florida Atlantic. I've talked about them last week. They're number one. They're number 21 in the country right now. They're just my favorite team. Not all the mid-majors. They're number one in Conference USA. They've only have one loss. They're 19-1, and they're deep. They go about 10 guys. Dusty May has a really good offense and a really balanced defense. I mean, it's just a tough team to try to be at their place now that they've been packing out. And even on the road, they play well. So, I think they're a tough team. They play Middle Tennessee State next. That's at home. That'll be a fairly easy game. Western Kentucky, who they beat before, that's going to be at home as well. I don't see them having an issue at all. And then they play at UAB in the beginning of February, February 2nd. And that will probably be their harder game coming up. But they previously beat UAB earlier in the season. So, like I said, they just have a lot of depth. And it's just hard to beat that kind of depth and experience in college basketball.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter what country you're in.
I want to jump back. So you said you think that this Middle Tennessee State game is going to be, a pretty easy game for them.
Mhm.
Middle Tennessee is third in that conference, 13-7, having a pretty good year. Well, what makes that game, in your eyes, an easy win for this Florida Atlantic team?
Well, Florida Atlantic's guard play is just superior out of pretty much any team that they've faced this year. Even when they were playing against Ole Miss, I would say that their guard play was better. Ole Miss is just more athletic, and they had had more size. Another thing is that Florida Atlantic's got a center, Vladislav Golden. He's 7'2". I don't think Middle Tennessee State has anybody even put on him that's even close to 6'11". So that's going to be a mismatch down low. And I mean, Florida Atlantic they can blow out teams. They've blown out a lot of teams this year. And Middle Tennessee State, they're third in Conference USA, but they're not going to be any type of team that's going to be contending for that conference championship. So I think they can easily win it.
Okay. All right. And then I want to bounce back to this UAB game. Now, you said you think they're going to go into the Trailblazers arena and they're going to get that dub. Now, the first time they played UAB, they only won by 2, and that was at home. So you don't think, like you said earlier, it's hard to win 2 games in a row or back-to-back games against a team. Why is Florida Atlantic going to be able to go to UAB and get that dub when the first game was so close? Don't you think they trade here?
I could definitely see a trade happening, but I'm riding with my guys. I think the Owls they have more experience. They're deeper. They play as a team. They have so many different pieces, and they're all guards. And then they have a couple forwards that play well. But I don't know. I really like the way they play, and their coach has really good adjustments during the game. And UAB's kind of struggled here lately, haven't they? I think they've dropped a couple games. So I don't know if I don't know what their team is even really looking like right now. And they kind of revolve around that one guard, Jelly Walker, who is he still leading I think he still leads the country in scoring or something like that.
I don't know that. Google Dan. Well, Dan pulls up these stats. FAU is on a 17-game win streak.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So do you think that continues through all 3 of these games? How long does that win streak last?
I genuinely cannot see them losing another game other than when they go to the tournament.
Okay. So you think they roll through the rest of CUSA play, they go through the CUSA tournament, win the tournament, and then they don't lose again until possibly the tournament?
Yep. The
Okay.
only thing I could see is them maybe dropping 2 games, a maximum of 2. But I genuinely I don't see that. I can't picture them losing another game just the way their schedule is going to be and just they don't really play anybody that's that tough. So
Okay.
So Walker is second in scoring per game. He
Okay.
fell behind Antoine Davis, Detroit Mercy, who's
Mhm.
scoring 26 points a game.
okay,
So yeah, but he's still second, in all of that NCAAB.
I mean, yeah, it's still impressive.
Yeah. So
All right.
does your
So
does your
FAU,
Google dance stats?
Google Dance stat of the day.
Good day, thank you.
FAU number 1 team to watch. Who's number 2?
Number 2 is that's New Mexico, number 25 in the country. They're 18-3, 5th in the Mountain West because their 3 losses are all in the Mountain West.
Yeah.
They've been struggling as of late. They actually just lost in Nevada last night, double overtime.
Good
But
team though.
yeah, it's just a good team, and they're scrappy. That conference is tough. Anybody can kind of win on any different night. But New Mexico, they've had a lot of good wins. I think their best win, in my opinion, would be at St. Mary's, especially since St. Mary's is one of the better home teams in college basketball. But they have 4 guys that I want to touch on: Jamal Mashburn Jr., Jalen House, Morris Udezi, and Josiah Alec. All 4 of those guys have just been phenomenal for Richard Pitino. I mean, they're going to be a tough team in March as well.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I like what you had to say there. I think, especially talking about the Mountain West, like, yeah, they're 18-3, they're 5th, but I see 5 teams coming out of the Mountain West into the tournament this year. I think Boise State's another team that's going to make a run at that tourney. And then the 3 teams ahead: Utah State, Nevada, San Diego State. Those are all really good teams. I think this is a conference that's going to put 5 in from a mid-major, and yeah, like you said, yeah, they're losing to the other top teams in the conference. I mean, that loss in Nevada, a 3-point loss in 2 OT, you live with that. You're not happy about it. You want to get the win, but that's not a loss that hurt your team.
Yeah. That's double OT. That's nothing. That's just that happens.
Okay, what's mid-major number 3?
Number 3 is the University of Akron.
Okay.
They're an interesting team because I really started liking them in the tournament when they played UCLA and played them really, really close. They almost beat UCLA. The coach is John Gross. He's been there for a couple years now, and he's kind of building up this program, and they really rely on just playing really elite defense and shooting the ball from the arc well as feeding the big man down low. And I really like the big guy they got, Enrique Freeman. He's 6'7", long arms, experienced kind of guy, good footwork down low. I mean, he's someone they really rely on. But their 6 losses that they have are all against some pretty big teams: Mississippi State, LSU, Nevada, Marshall, Bradley, and Ball State. I mean, those are all some tough teams to try to beat. And I think this is going to be another year where they kind of figure it out around this time going into February and then into March, where they can probably make the tournament again.
Okay. So how are you feeling about their next 3 games? Ohio, Buffalo, Kent State.
Well, they're also playing Miami, Ohio tonight.
They did win that game. That game.
Yeah, so they won that game. Ohio, that might give them some problems, but it's at home. So I kind of going to lean on them. And then at Buffalo, I don't see that being a tough game at all. I think they're playing really well right now, Akron.
Okay, but that, I guess, the 4th game, since we're talking about this week as a whole, and we're recording on a Tuesday. So
Yeah.
Kent State, that's the 4th team coming up.
Kent State, yeah.
I think that's a team they lose to. This Kent State team, 16-3. Their only 3 losses are to good schools. They've lost to College of Charleston, Houston, and Gonzaga are their 3 losses.
Mm-hmm.
And they were all close games. 2-point loss to College of Charleston, 5-point loss to Houston, and 7-point loss to Gonzaga. That's a team that I'm looking at this team and I'm like, okay, this is a team that could possibly make a run. Now their schedule as a whole is not super strong. They don't really have that signature win yet. I mean, they got a win over New Mexico State, but I think they they play for that signature win and they get that win over Akron here.
Okay. All right. Well, the thing with Kent State is that they got Sincere Carey. He's like their point guard. He's the leader of their team, and that might be the only thing that I can think that would be. He's like the main guy that I would worry about against Akron. But Akron's overall best player is Xavier Castaneda, and he's a point guard too. So they'll be probably guarding each other the entire game. They're about the same size, and they both average around 20 points a game. So that will be an interesting matchup for sure.
Yeah, look forward to that one. All right. So, in a couple games, you got the matchup between the 1 and 2 seed and the MAC. What is mid-major number 4? Who's the last team here?
Mid-major number 4. I think I touched on them last week is UMass Lowell. All right.
Okay.
I know it's very random. They're a pretty small school in the American East, but they are 17-4. They're first in their conference, American East. Their best wins are against UMass, Vermont, Bryant University, and UMBC. And their losses are to Rutgers, Rhode Island, Albany, and Binghamton. And the Albany and Binghamton are kind of recent losses, and those were close games that they I think kind of let them slip away. But this is a team that I kind of like to maybe not win a game in the tournament, but make somebody kind of scared as a 15 seed or maybe even like a 14 seed.
Okay.
They're just interesting, kind of fun to watch.
All right. I mean, they are number 1 in their conference. UMBC is a solid team. They've kind of been on the up and up since that 16 seed upset.
Mm-hmm.
This has been a team that's been trending upward.
Yeah. I think they got like a Under Armour deal, and I don't know, the school kind of looks like they've picked it up since that win.
I mean, that area, where UMBC is, you got kind of that tri-state area of, Maryland, Delaware. Like, they put out good basketball players.
Yep.
So you don't even really have to go far to be able to recruit. And as UMBC, you're not really going to be recruiting across country. So if you're able to just, stay home and get that good of talent, why not? Yeah. All right. And do you have a team that made number 5? Do you have a team that kind of was just outside your board?
Not really. I didn't think of one, but somebody that I'm gonna talk about and I'm gonna be biased about is Syracuse. All right. I'm gonna talk about Syracuse.
This is a mid-major segment, kid.
All right.
What conference? Hold on. What conference is Syracuse in?
I know they're ACC, but I wanted to talk about them briefly because they're playing North Carolina tonight. I think Syracuse, they're kind of one of my teams in the ACC that's going to sneak up on people. And I know they're not a mid-major, but I did want to touch on it because they're kind of one of those schools. They're not a massive school. They're not like one of these big SEC schools. They're not like Clemson or anything like that in the ACC or Miami or Florida State. But they're one of those schools with Jim Boeheim. He's got a lot of young guys, but he's got experience in the right spots. I think Syracuse will win 20 games this year, at least 20 games. And Jim Boeheim's always deadly in March.
Is this another Syracuse team that makes the tournament as an 8 or 9 seed and goes to the Sweet 16?
I think so. I think this is the year. I mean, Judah Mintz is one of the best freshmen in the country. So, point guard. He might be a one and done if he wants to go. He might be getting more. Nowadays they might be getting more NIL money and it's probably like, hey,
then a second round pick, probably.
Yeah. I could be in college and have fun. So
late first, second round pick, you're going to make more money in college than you are in the pros right now.
Yep.
Yeah.
But just to inform you, I don't know if you know. So we're recording during the game. Syracuse is losing at halftime.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe they bounce back here. But I mean, I feel like the ACC is normally like the basketball conference, and I feel like the last 2 years it hasn't really been that way.
Well, basketball, transfer portal, NIL, COVID, all that kind of stuff. It's just messed up a lot of things in general with all the conferences. I think just talent is spread all over, and things are just changing. I think nothing's really it's not like how it used to be where you had the Big East, ACC, SEC were like the top conferences, and they were consistently good. I think now you're having like even just like the mid majors I'm touching on. Everybody's kind of getting good now all over the country.
Do you think this is going to be a consistent? Because I mean, you're starting to see it in football a little bit too, with certain teams. You look at like UCLA, the past with the way they were able to turn around their program using the transfer portal. Is that going to be kind of the consistent basis for college sports as a whole now, where a team is going to 1 year turnaround off the transfer portal, and there's not going to be a lot of consistency between some of those mid-level schools. You still expect your Michigan State, your North Carolina to always be good, but is it going to become the new normal in college sports as a whole to see Nevada have really good years, and New Mexico State and some of those schools like that start to just pop out of nowhere for a year or two off some of these transfers? Yes, what do you
Yeah.
think? Yeah.
That's for me. Yeah, I mean, I think it's going to become normal that you're seeing these random schools, whether it's football or even basketball. I think with just the way you can go to any kind of school and just transfer now. And then some of these smaller schools or mid-major schools have money. Like they might not be in a bigger conference, but they have money to give, or they have the NIL donors to kind of give the money out. And so if you find, like, for example, for a basketball team, just like one of the teams I'm talking about, Akron, I'm not sure what their NIL situation is and what's going on over there, but they were just in the tournament last year, and I didn't even ever have heard of Akron basketball up until last year. And you're just kind of seeing these schools, they find a good coach, that he builds a culture, and guys want to play for them. And, you're just seeing teams getting better and better that we've never really heard of. It's not just like the regular Blue Bloods.
Do you think this is good for the game of basketball?
I think it's what?
Do you think it's good for the game of basketball to have all these other schools to be having talent pop up? Do you think it keeps it nice and competitive, or do you think it kind of pulls away from some of the more traditional dominant schools that have some of the bigger programs that like to get a lot of players in the league?
Yeah, that's a good question. I don't know. I haven't really thought about it too much, but I would say that I think it helps the game of basketball. I think it would help any sport. I think it's cooler to see like a team like Wake Forest in football, like eventually get really, top 25 team year in and year out now, Wake Forest. Or just like who's the College of Charleston? They were ranked. Like, it's cool to see different schools around the country get good with athletics, especially basketball and football. And as far as like helping the game, I think that it's just kind of nice for fans, I guess. I mean, if you're a fan of one of those schools, like, you can end up having a team that wins the conference championship just in 1 year turnaround. So
Yeah, I think too, you kind of hit that right on the head with it is good for all sports, because you start to look at these, like, you keep jumping back to football. You were seeing the same teams in that college football playoff every year, and the ratings were just going down and down and down. And when the money starts going down because people aren't watching the championships, it hurts all programs, all conferences. So having teams that show up out of nowhere, a TCU making the college football playoff, or an Akron coming out of nowhere and stunning somebody in the tournament, like, it's good for basketball because people watch those games. People want to watch good basketball, not Kentucky win the championship every year because they have the top 5 players in every class go to their school.
yeah. Just to touch on that, like Patrick Baldwin Jr., he was, I think the Warriors drafted him end of the first round. He was end of the first round or beginning of second round. I think it was end of the first round. But, 6'8" forward. He was a 5-star recruit. He went to the University of Milwaukee. Now, his dad is the coach there, but like a 5-star recruit going to a mid-major like that is never heard of. And I think we're actually going to start seeing that more often, just the way like the world like kind of is going. I don't think kids really care where they play as long as it's a good fit, like in terms of basketball for sure. And eventually we're going to see that in football with the way Deion Sanders has taken over Colorado. It's like people don't care about the money now. They just want to get the coaching from Deion. So
Yeah, especially defense. You see the way he's recruiting those top corners are flocking to him. So
yeah,
I mean, yeah, coaching definitely matters. Scheme definitely matters. And when you're talking about, everyone's going to be able to get money, like Syracuse can't give out, millions of dollars to every player. So, they're not going to be able to recruit all of these top guys. So, why can't a University of Milwaukee swoop in, throw out, a crazy NIL deal and get this 5-star guy to come in? Like, it's going to happen.
yeah, that kind of stuff will happen. And obviously the bigger schools will catch up. And like Syracuse, like we don't have a big NIL pool, but the bigger schools will, of course, continue to grow and get bigger. Hopefully that's what everybody would think. But
Yeah.
these smaller schools, especially like in the Mountain West, like in the WAC, like San Francisco, Loyola Marymount, BYU, like those teams are going to end up getting significant players over there. I mean, BYU's already been bringing in some 4-star recruits, but yeah.
All right. Well, let's make a quick transition. Let's jump over to the NBA. Have you changed your mind on who you really like coming out of either side from some of the games you saw this week?
I'm liking how the Mavs looked lately.
You said what?
I'm liking how the Mavs have looked lately.
Okay.
Mavs are playing some pretty good basketball.
Yeah. I mean, to me, Luka's a top 3 player in the league right now. So I do like that. Top 3, yeah. I mean, listen, everyone was tripping for not taking Luka #1. All you heard was he's unathletic. He's, hasn't played against the American competition. He drops down in the draft. It was dumb. He's been playing professional basketball since he was like 13 years old. He was winning MVP in EuroLeague at like 16. Draft the kid #1 and let him carry your franchise.
Who would have had the #1 pick that year?
That would have been
The
who
Suns.
was it? Yeah, the Suns took DeAndre Ayton,
Yeah, they took Ayton.
and then the Kings took Marvin Bagley.
I bet.
Yeah, and
I
Trae
bet they're
Young
kicking
and Luka,
themselves for that.
right?
Yeah.
I bet their front offices are absolutely killing themselves for that right now. Like, man, we got to have this guy in Phoenix. Man, we got to have this guy.
If you could have paired up Devin Booker and Luka
Devin
Doncic,
Booker and Luka Doncic would take over the NBA if that was a team.
that's a team that can put up points in a hurry.
Yeah, they might give
But-
the Splash Brothers a run for their money.
But in the end, people miss on draft picks. I mean, shit, Giannis was what, the 16th pick or something? So you never really
Yeah.
know.
But yeah,
But,
talking about some teams you like, Giannis and Chris Middleton both returned against the Pistons this past game the other day, and they did drop $150, and so
Ooh,
like I'm liking the way this team looking coming out of the East. So it's nice to see the Bucks get a little reset after dealing with some injuries.
I like Chris Middleton a whole lot. I think he is almost as important to that scheme as Giannis is.
I mean, right now he's still coming off the bench just because, Pat's been playing the starting role for a while.
well, he's coming off that injury too.
You can't discount a good 6th man.
Yeah, he only played 15 minutes or something like that.
Yeah, once he gets back, it'll be fine. I mean, just with him and Giannis on the court, the versatility that they get out of that, those are guys they can guard basically 1 through 5. Middleton not as much as Giannis. Middleton can really guard like 1 through 4 if you need him to. Like that's a versatile lineup when they're both in there because Middleton's 6'8" and he can play anywhere from shooting guard to power forward, I guess, if you want to go real small ball. So I mean, that's a dangerous team just off size alone.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Chris Middleton's been doing work for that organization for so long.
I think I think the Bucks are still probably my favorite to come out of the East. They're dealing with injuries. They're still up there in record. So I think that's a team that's just gonna pull a LeBron and kind of just coast to the playoffs, try not to get anyone hurt, keep everyone healthy, and and make a run in the playoffs.
They just got to get healthy at the right time if they catch the injury bug, and they can probably make an easy playoff run.
And I don't think Giannis goes down to Jason Tatum twice. Not
Probably
back-to-back years.
now. Yeah, probably not now.
And they're also going to get rid of Serge Ibaka. I saw like they're going to look for a spot for him. So maybe they'll look for him to go to like the Lakers. Or
Man, I haven't heard that name in a long time.
Well, the Lakers did just make a move.
Yeah.
They traded for Rui Hachimura.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know how that's going to fit with that squad. You had a team of people who can't shoot the basketball, and they added another dude who can't shoot the basketball.
It seems like the strategy is, hey, if we get enough guys who can't shoot, one of them will be like, hey, I've got to be better than these bums, and then someone will learn how to shoot. Is that the strategy here?
I think at this point they're just trying to get younger. And
Yeah, they're trying to get younger. They're trying to get some pieces. Rui's a good player. He was the 9th pick overall.
yeah,
They're trying to replace
Dominated
Anthony
Gonzaga.
Davis because he never plays.
true. I mean, yeah, they got to get 80 healthy, but at this point, this Lakers team not making the playoffs.
No.
And unless something crazy happens where they go on a run here and rip off a bunch of games, this is not a team making the playoff. At best, they make the play-in tournament as like the 9 or 10 seed.
Yeah.
But this team's struggling. I mean, does this trade help them? Probably. Like you said, Anthony Davis can't stay healthy, but it's not a significant trade that's going to propel them into anything.
Yeah, all the stuff you see on like social media. I saw something today. It's obviously like a joke, but it was saying like, are they playoff contenders now, or are they going to make a run? Rui's not that big of a piece. He doesn't shift them that much, but he definitely makes them a little bit better.
Yeah, I mean, they definitely still need to make a bigger trade if they want to compete, but
yeah,
it's a step in the right direction. I mean, they really didn't give up anything for him.
Yeah, you got to start somewhere. I mean, if they brought him in for almost next to nothing, then might as well add him in, see if the injection of youth will help the roster be able to make a push.
I would trade AD if I was the Lakers.
Where do you want to put AD at, and what do you want for him?
I'd send him to Chicago and try to get DeMar DeRozan and Zach LaVine or something like that.
That would be nasty if they could pull that off.
Yeah, I like Zach LaVine a whole bunch.
Yeah, I think they should definitely try. I mean, AD wants to be, or I think AD's from Chicago or something like that, or likes Chicago, likes the Bulls. He has some connection there because he was thinking about them in free agency. But I definitely think that DeMar DeRozan's ready to compete for a ring, and he shouldn't be wasting time in Chicago. And obviously, AD's really just not going. I know he had a good year this year when he was playing, but he's just not that same player. If he gets hurt like this, he's just not going to last.
The Bulls have Andre Drummond in the middle, right? They have him patrolling the paint.
Vucevic.
Oh, Vucevic. I thought they had Andre Drummond.
They do. I think he's like one of their backup centers. But I mean, AD can play the 4.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and I mean, I think Drummond was on the Lakers for a little bit, wasn't
he? Yeah, last year, some of that. Yeah.
I believe so, yeah. Hey, maybe bring him back. Why not?
Definitely not. Nah, Drummond only works when. Honestly, he only works on bad teams.
Yeah, I don't know what happened
to
to Andre
to play him more. What?
I don't know what happened to Andre Drummond.
You only time he puts up stats and is effective on the court is when you just guarantee him 30 minutes and then he'll get you 25 rebounds. But he's a defensive liability at this point. His plus minus is always negative. And he's just without volume minutes, he just doesn't put up efficient stats.
Stat lines, yeah. He used to be so nasty on the Pistons.
I mean, maybe he's just a streaky player where he's got to be in the flow of the game to be playing well. And I mean, there's a lot of players like that, but when you're, what is he, 30, 32, 33, and you're a role player now, that doesn't work.
He's 29.
29, whatever. It feels like he's 32.
Yeah, he definitely does.
Yeah, I was going to wait for Google Dan to get on that because I knew he was not even in his 30s yet.
He feels like he's in his 30s.
He used to be so nasty.
That dude's played for 47 teams.
What happened?
He does have a hoop mixtape from like the lockout, I think, or like from when he was in college or something.
Oh yeah.
So he is
Yeah,
that
okay.
old.
Okay.
Interesting.
But a team I feel like you have some opinions on here, Tootie. The Pacers. This is a
Mhm.
team that everyone expected to be competing for the #1 overall pick.
Yep.
And now they don't have a good record by any means, but they're flirting around 500.
Yeah, they're flirting around 500 and they're competing every single night. That's what it seems like. Tyrese Halliburton. It's for me. It's like everybody really hyped him up in the beginning of the year and like in the off season. So this is almost really expected. I mean, I've been a fan of Halliburton for a while. I really liked him at Iowa State, but I
I was
think
surprised
Benedict
the
Mathurin
Kings
is
traded
like their
him.
key. What was that?
He got drafted by the Kings, didn't he?
Yeah, he got
Yeah,
drafted by
yeah,
the
yeah.
Kings.
I
And
was
traded.
surprised when they traded him. That one didn't make sense to me.
Didn't
Yeah.
make sense to me at all.
Like, he can play two guard to De'Aaron Fox. And it's not like he's small. He's what 6'5", 6'6". Like that one was just
That could have been a
didn't make any
magical
sense.
And then they
backcourt.
drafted Davion Mitchell from
Yeah.
Baylor.
Yeah, like I don't know. The Kings are a dumpster fire organization. Like it's every move they make, I just sit there and I go, why?
Well, hey, look, it's actually working out. I mean, De'Aaron Fox is looking really, really good, and look at how good Sabonis works. Okay, so the Tyrese Halliburton trade, I think is going to go down as one of the most fair trades in NBA history, just because Sabonis has been so good for the Kings, and then Tyrese Halliburton is pretty much the core of the Pacers. I think that just because he's younger, the Pacers might have won that trade, but I mean, like Dan was just saying, the Kings are third in the West, and I don't think they'll probably hold that. I think they could be a top 6 seed, but man, they're fun to watch. Both teams are.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, Sabonis is still a good pickup. Like, don't get me wrong, I'm not hating on Sabonis, but I feel like in the long run, Halliburton is the better player.
Yeah.
We know what Sabonis is. He's starting to hit his prime now, but he's that guy. He's going to get you 15 to 18 a game with somewhere around 12 or 10 to 12 rebounds. It's to me he's a really good like second or third option, but I feel like you give it De'Aaron Fox and Halliburton a couple years to grow together, and that team is pretty nasty.
Yeah.
I also like Buddy Hield for the Pacers. I think he's a super solid shooter. He's not like obviously one of the crazy shooters, but like for the way their team works, I think he works well and getting some of those outside shots.
Who's their big man that they've got down in Indiana?
Miles Turner.
Miles Turner.
I mean, he's fun to
still
watch.
there. Still there.
He's fun to watch.
Feels like he's 45 too.
Yeah, but he is fun to watch.
He's like 26.
I know, but it feels like he's been there forever.
Yeah, they were like wanting to trade him for the past couple of years, and now it seems like it's stalled out because they've been playing so well.
Yeah, now it's like, oh, well, now he's like one of the more pinnacle parts of our team. Do we have to consider re-signing him? Now that's part of the storyline.
I still kind of want to see them trade him.
What do you think?
Yeah.
You think they're call for him?
I want to see him to be able to compete for a championship. I think he's a versatile enough center that if you get him on a better team, he's an impact player.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm not sure what team would go in. I mean, I guess the Lakers will go in on him, or maybe the the Suns would. They talked about making a flip over the offseason this past year, but I really just like the rookies they got: Andrew Nembhard, Benedict Mathurin, and then the kind of sophomore players: Isaiah Jackson and Jalen Smith.
I'm a big fan of Jalen Smith.
Yeah, they just have a really good squad.
I think this Pacers team is a couple years out, like with where they're at and where these guys are playing. If they continue that upward progression, it's a team that you can see in 3 or 4 years maybe making a run. But I mean, Miles Turner's 26, 27 now.
Yeah.
He's starting to hit that. You got 2, 3, maybe 4 years of his prime left.
Yeah.
get him on a team to win it, that has a chance to compete.
Yeah. I'd like to see him get the ring. He plays real hard, man. He's really fun to watch. He's a really good effort player.
Because I mean, the Pacers are in the play-in right now, so you never really know what can happen out of that. But that team's not winning a championship.
Yeah.
No, not this year, but I think they have a nice window, and everybody's around the same age on their team except for Buddy Hield and TJ McConnell. But yeah,
I mean, yeah. And speaking to the Lakers, because I had the standings pulled up. They're 22 and 25 on the year, and they are the 12th seed in the West. So they're a couple games out of. I mean, they're only one game out of the play-in, but they got to make a move now. If they're making a move, they got to make a move now because this team has to go on a run.
Yeah. If they want to hope to make it into the playoff or secure their spot in the play-in, they've got to do something now. Can't afford to wait longer.
The other two teams in the play-in that's kind of wild to me in the West, the Suns and the Warriors. Now I know the Warriors are kind of starting to pick things back up and they're getting some wins, but this is it's surprising to see the NBA champs out here under 500 halfway through the year.
Yeah.
And then I mean, what happened to the Suns? This is the team that they were ripping off 65 wins, and now they're just
nobody
like
wants
the
to play.
Warriors.
Nobody wants to play with each other. Nobody likes Ayton. Everybody's butting heads. It's like I feel like it's a very toxic situation over there in Phoenix.
Okay. So is that why they're kind of going on a run now that Ayton got he has that illness and they've ripped off 3 straight?
Well, Ayton's I don't know who they played in that 3 straight thing, but I mean Ayton's gone, and then the
Nets, Pacers, Grizzlies.
yeah,
and they're beating the Hornets right now, but I mean it's the Hornets.
Yeah. So I just that's just the way the season works. I mean, I don't think they have Booker back yet either, but I think the Suns are going to make a big trade.
Okay. And you think Ayton's going to be a part of that?
Yeah, Ayton's a part of it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hey, I've seen the names I've seen from the Suns being thrown around is Saric and Ayton.
I think there's going to be a 3-team trade.
All right.
And I got Phoenix is one, Minnesota, and my other one is going to be the Raptors.
Okay. And what are the players getting moved in this?
I don't want to say it yet.
I think you need to say it. You just threw on some wild teams.
I don't know if I want to say it yet. I want to wait till it happens.
No. You got to rip it off now. Call your shot.
All right. I think, and I've been saying this for like the past, it feels like 3 years. I don't know how long it has been, honestly. It's been a while. But
we keep saying it.
Chris Paul and Ayton to Minnesota for Cat and D'Angelo Russell. All right. Then you got Gobert is going to go to the Raptors for Mikal Bridges in Phoenix. So Mikal Bridges is going to go Gobert is going to go to the Raptors. Mikal Bridges is going to go to the Raptors. Phoenix is going to get OG Anunoby and Fred VanVleet. And then they're going to kind of work out another thing. So
interesting.
Sorry, Minnesota is going to get Fred VanVleet. I don't have it in front of me, so I'm trying to work it out.
I knew what you meant. I don't know. That's a big L for the Wolves if they make that move after what they just gave up for
Rudy. Yeah.
I think it will be a big L. But if you have Ayton and Chris Paul together, I don't know, man. I really like it. You have Ayton and Chris Paul, and then you put D'Angelo. I don't really like these players. I don't like Devin Booker. I don't like Russell, and I don't like Cat. JT probably already knows that. I don't like Cat. But if you have all 3 together, they're all best friends. They've talked about playing together. That would be an interesting thing, having them 3 together. So
yeah, I think it's going to be an interesting dumpster fire.
Absolutely.
I don't know, man. Just wait for it. Just wait for it.
All right. All right. You're getting a little crazy out here. All right. I mean, the Heat, he got a big win tonight.
Yeah, they
Bam
did.
Adebayo just put up a 30 ball on the Celtics.
That's my team right there.
Okay.
I thought you.
I thought you were a Raptors fan.
No, I am a Raptors fan. but
Don't be like Dan.
Well, no, we had talked about in the last podcast who we thought was going to go. And I said
Oh.
the Heat are my pick from the East.
Yeah,
Yeah, that was your pick. That's right.
You're starting to come out here like a bandwagon guy. And the
No,
reality
no.
is there's
No,
only
I'm just
one
back-
bandwagon guy allowed on this podcast,
Well,
and
no,
the
I'm
slot's
just
already
backing
filled.
up. No, I'm just backing up the points that I had iterated in the last podcast. I'm
'Cause-
doubling
'cause-
down.
Okay, well, all I'm saying is, just like in the NFL segment where Dan's got, a couple favorite teams, and unfortunately one of them lost. He's a big Cowboys guy.
No.
One of them goes down. I mean, Dan does like the Golden State Warriors. That's already been known. But he's also a Memphis Grizzlies and Boston Celtics fan. He loves those top teams.
He
Well,
just
he
likes the
also
top
told me-
teams.
Well, see, this
Okay.
one of the things he told me off podcast is that he really loves the Wizards, bro.
The Wizards, okay. I
He
can
loves
see
them
that,
watching the
Dan.
Wizards, bro.
I mean, but that's just back to those John Wall days. I mean, he really loved when John Wall hit the Dougie. And Dan's kind of been a fan ever since. So,
That was pretty lit.
I can respect that.
but like, let's not get it twisted. Dan's other favorite teams are the Brooklyn Nets
okay.
and the Clippers. He loves those teams from LA. And he's a huge Kevin Durant fan.
He's
Interesting.
the biggest-
Interesting.
He's the biggest KD fan.
I also did hear him say off podcast, Kyrie Irving is still the best point guard in the NBA. So
Okay.
the kid's a little
Not
wild.
sarcasm, huh?
Okay, JT.
I mean, I thought I heard him say that the Russell Westbrook contract was fine.
I heard him say Russell Westbrook should have been paid more.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Yeah, see, Dan just says egregious things, but it's the selective editing he gets to do.
He does cut a lot of stuff out. I mean, Andrew's here now, so he can back it up. Dan says a lot of wild things. He just cuts out. It's what happens. The kid makes egregious takes week in and week out, and not a single one makes it into the pod.
Interesting. See what they do to me, Andrew. See what they do to me
We call
Yeah.
it the editor.
every week.
Just bashing you, man.
Every
But it's
week.
because he's selective edits. I mean, he literally just said last pod that UConn was the team to watch in the tournament. Cut it out. Didn't even make it in last time.
Okay. All right, JT.
It happened. That's all I'm saying. And the people at home need to know. They need to know how you treat us on here.
You let us look stupid while you're out here making yourself look like you know everything.
Maybe I do. Maybe I don't. But
Okay.
you'll never know. Because I'll edit it out.
And there it is. The truth comes out. That's what I'm talking about. Dan, now it's time for you to come out with your true fan base. What's your real team? Come clean.
Who is your squad?
Oh, in
If you say the
NBA?
Ma- Go ahead,
Yeah,
say the Mavericks.
what's your real squad?
Go ahead, say the Mavericks.
The Warriors.
Okay.
Okay, all right. See, he's still lying to you guys. He can't accept it.
Okay, what? Okay, JT, what is my true team? Because apparently you know better than I do.
I do, because you're a Jersey fanatic. So
Okay.
you really, in your true heart, you really root for teams with cool jerseys. You're an Orlando Magic fan.
Or the Orlando Magic do, in fact, have some of the coolest jerseys in the NBA.
All right.
Their 2K jerseys are fire.
Calm down.
Well,
Calm down.
now that we're on the Orlando Magic, I do want to make a point to say Paolo Banchero may be one of the best rookies we've seen in the NBA in a little bit.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's incredible,
Yeah, he
man.
That dude is going crazy. The Magic still are not winning games. Let's not get twisted. They still don't know how to win, but
That's not the
he's
goal.
playing out of his mind.
Yeah, I think he's like one of the best rookies since Blake Griffin.
Yeah, I mean, he's got almost 21 a game, 7 rebounds, 4 assists, doing it pretty efficiently. This is a guy, 2-3 years, you can see him, take that step up into upper echelon.
Maybe.
Absolutely.
And you know what? The Magic are still not going to win games.
Probably
they-
not. They still
They
need
just,
more.
it does not
But,
matter
hey,
how many top
Jonathan-
picks they have.
Jonathan Isaac came back.
He did?
Last night, I think he came back
Yeah.
and played the Celtics.
Yeah. He played 10 minutes last night.
They're
So
gonna
that's-
trade him. They're gonna trade Jonathan
Oh,
Isaac.
100%. He's getting moved.
Yeah.
He's a good player, though. I like Jonathan Isaac.
He's going to Utah.
Is he now?
He's going to Utah.
So you want the three of your most hated players to get traded to the same team, and then this underrated 6'10" power forward, you're like, Utah's gonna get him.
Yep.
Maybe we need to start the narrative that you're biased because these takes are starting to get crazy.
Just get ready for it. Just get ready for it.
Okay, all right.
It's happening this year.
Okay, it's happening before
Oh,
the trade deadline.
Yeah, at the trade deadline, it's all happening.
What is it
Okay.
like? What is it like 3 or 4 weeks from now, or something like that?
Yeah.
All right. Well, on that note, this has been the Boyz and Ball podcast. If you like the pod, hit the like button, subscribe. Bye.